Hi guys, Jason here. Today we're looking at channel 3 in the Alta100. I posted a previous clip where we did a deep dive on channel 2. So today we're going to have a deep dive in channel 3. What you were listening to me play in the play-in to the clip is channel 3 in vintage mode with the clipping on, and it's become one of my favorite setups or favorite voicings on the amp. Actually, it's kind of really got that kind of width to it. It's fantastic for those big rhythm tones. So I thought I'd start with just a quick revisit to what the channel 2 sound is, and then we'll kind of go into channel 3 and you'll hear how channel 3 builds on channel 2 in this amp. Okay, so here we are on the control panel. I've got channel 2 selected right in the vintage voicing with no options on, and so this is our kind of core tone from channel 2. We'll get straight into channel 3, right? I want to kind of demonstrate how channel 3 just builds on the voicings and the options available with channel 2. I'm using my Axe effects here today. The MIDI out of my Axe into the MIDI in of the Alta, and I'm using scene changes here to control the MIDI presets that I have selected on the amp. If you want to understand about the MIDI options on this amp, I have a previous video about that, right? So do check it out. So here we are, channel 2, right? And here's the core sound of channel 3, and I'll play them back to back. Here's 2. What channel 3 is a gain stage added to channel 2, right? So the idea here is that, you know, you can kind of put away your pedal board, right? Put away your boost pedals and so on. Use channel 3 as a gain stage that really kicks into the front end of the amp, right? And you can kind of hear that when channel 3 comes in over the top of 2, really broadens out the sound. It gets very thick, and you get it's got more compression in the amp. It's fantastic for those big fat rhythm parts, and can also be dialed in as a, you know, fantastic lead sound, which is kind of what I was going for. I'm going to move to another option here. So this is just channel 3 again in vintage mode, and I'm bringing the brights in, right? So I demonstrated that in the channel 2 deep dive, where we've got the option of these bright 1 and bright 2, and on all of channels 1, 2 and 3, these function, and you can have no brights or no bright voicing. Bright 1 is kind of a, you know, mild extra bright voicing. 2 is, you know, kind of more than that, and then you can have them both on together if you really want to kind of really get that sparkle and ripping top end. So here is channel 3 without the bright option. First bright, and both together. So one of my favourite tones in the channel 3 position is the vintage voicing with these brights, and it just sounds like a big fat cranked Marshall to me, right? But with that kind of a little bit of a modern twist on it. If I move forward from here, we're into our actual modern voicing, right? So the modern voicing, it's got more gain and it tightens up the bottom end as well. Right, so this is where we're kind of really getting into, I think, the amp where it is suited for lead playing. You can definitely play, you know, big, grindy rhythm tones in the modern mode, and we're able to tight bottom end. But because we're really starting to get, you know, into the real high gain territory here, that it's, you know, it's pretty cool for leads, as you would expect and hope for. So here's channel 3 in the vintage voicing, just so you can hear it back to back. And with the modern. So from here, we've got the same options in terms of bringing in the bright voicings if we really want to get some extra sizzle on the top here. So here's the first one. I've moved there into, as I said at the beginning, right, one of my kind of favourite settings on the amp actually, which is channel 3 in the vintage voicing. And what I've done here is we've brought in the clipping function, which, as I described in the channel 2 video, right, so we got some Zener diodes in here that are selectable on channel 2 and channel 3. I've got them voiced pretty mild, right, it's not really super compressed, but it does add bit of compression to the amp and makes the thing feel, particularly under the fingers, like you've really got the power section cooking. And we're bringing in the second master volume on the rear of the amp, which is adjustable, and that is allowing for the volume compensation. So you can use a second master, depends on how you dial the amp in, right? You can use master 2 as just an overall volume boost for leads across all 3 channels, or you can use it as I am here today to equalize my volumes when I'm bringing these different voicings in and out, so I can use the second master to bring the volume up. And you heard me playing with the sound on the way in here, and it's well, in the beginning of the clip, and it's just a big fat rhythm sound, right? You know, in the ilk of the kind of Alice in Chains and Tool and that style of music that, you know, probably many of us were listening to in the 90s. I certainly was. I'm going to move to pretty much maximum mode on the amp, right, in terms of compression and gain and so on. What we are here is we're in channel 3, obviously still. I've gone into the modern voicing with the clipping, right? So this is pretty high gain. You'll notice that as I've gone through all these modes in channel 3 so far, I haven't had to re-EQ the amp at all. Everything's kind of just set, right? And the idea of when I was going through and voicing this amp, I wanted to have an amp where you could click all these options and get the voicings you wanted between channel 1, 2 and 3 and not have to re-EQ the amp every time, right? So you can see I've got the bass, middle and treble here just right on midday, really. Bass back just a little bit. Depth and presence, right on midday. And for channel 3, you can see the gain here is, 7 of 10. So it's about kind of 2 p.m. Right, so there's kind of more gain there, but as you expect as you find with, preamp gains on these kind of high gain amps, the more you crank that gain, the more bottom end will come through as well. So personally, I always like to dial these higher gain settings with, gain just back a bit. And then of course you've got the option of using the Bright cap to give the thing some spice. So anyway, let's have a listen to where we are here. This is, as I said, one of the highest gain, or the highest gain setting in the amp. Alright guys, well that's it for channel 3. I hope you enjoyed the bit of a deep dive in today's clip. Stay tuned for a deep dive on channel 1. That's still to come, right? I want to do a few more clips with the amp set up in a few different configurations. So I will set up a 4 cable method rundown of the amp with my FM3, which is how I've actually been using it, right, when I've been kind of playing with the guys with the amp, because with the MIDI control inside the Axe FM3 4 cable method in the amp with the effects loop and so on, it's a pretty killer rig, right? So we'll do a demo of that for sure. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing so, and I will see you next time.